Hello there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today, we are joined by a very good friend of mine, Michael McCartan. Thank you so much for joining us again, Michael. Michael is the Area Vice President for Ideas, and we're going to be hearing all about the exciting stuff that's been going on with Michael, because there's been a few changes since he was last on the show. We're going to be hearing about some exciting stuff that's going on at Ideas, and some other bits and pieces. So, yeah, stay tuned in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We're really trying to grow it at the moment. So please do head over to the YouTube channel and subscribe. Without further ado, Michael, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. Great. And thanks for having me back again. Lovely to
No,
be
it's
here.
my pleasure, mate. It's my pleasure. I always do love our catch-ups, to be totally honest with you. And this, I think, is going to be a really interesting one because there's been a hell of a lot happen with you since you were last on the show. So I suppose, kick it off. What's been happening in the world of Michael since you were last on E&Ftv?
Yes. So the big news, obviously, is that I've joined Ideas.
Yes.
That came about I joined them in March. My first day was the baptism of fire. Day one of ITB. I was thrown in the deep end.
Yes. Right.
which caused quite a stir, obviously, but that was intentional to some
Sure.
extent.
Sure.
But obviously delighted to be with Ideas, and yeah, it's been very interesting to see under the hood, really, of a company that I've known about for a long time, and in the past competed against them, actually.
Yeah.
So exciting times, and delighted to be here.
So just a sort of side one, I suppose. How's your role changed then from your last role to what you're doing in this one? Is it a very similar remit, or is it something different? Is there something different in it that excites you a bit? You know, what's different with your actual remit?
So in terms of the remit, not a great deal has changed.
Okay. Okay.
It's still new business,
Hmm.
looking for new opportunities, new clients throughout Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the environment and the context is very different with Ideas.
Sure.
It's a well-established player, the most established player in the marketplace. It's been
Yeah.
around for 30 plus years, got a massive heritage in revenue
Yeah.
management. It's recognized as the leader. And actually, last month they announced that they have Ideas has 30,000 contracted hotels. So that is
Wow.
huge, and very, very different to my past experiences. So the
Sure.
conversations as a result that you have with hotels are different. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily make it any easier, but they're different, and you have the track record and the references, and
Hmm.
the pedigree in delivering revenue management systems. So that certainly helps in the conversation.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah.
And you're doing basically what you do best, the new business, the growth end, right? Like that's what you live and breathe for. And again, that's what the industry's known you for. So fair play to you, to be fair. And now, as you say, in the most well-established RMS in the world.
Yeah, and the most surprising things for me coming into Ideas is the degree to which they invest in R&D. The
Right.
research and development is phenomenal. Over 20% of the revenues that Ideas
Wow.
makes as a company gets put back into development, and it shows in the depth and the breadth of the products that
Yeah.
Ideas has to sell. I think probably the thing I didn't realize or appreciated before I joined was what I'll call is Ideas fit for purpose
Right.
solutions. It's not one size fits all. It's not a single solution
Of
that you then
course.
got to apply to a resort or to an extended stay or to a part hotel or a budget hotel,
Yeah.
or indeed just a traditional city center hotel with meetings and events.
Mm.
There is a product for everyone in the Ideas portfolio, and that is very refreshing and makes every conversation really interesting, because through your discovery process,
Mm.
I have something that can help this customer.
Yeah, absolutely. What, if you don't mind me asking, what was the transition like? Because I know you touched on a couple of points there about being, having those different conversations, it being a more well established and just beast of an RMS. What's the transition been like from going from a startup in the same space to now being in literally the absolute opposite end. I can imagine there's certainly some differences, possibly challenges. And I suppose what are the benefits of both worlds? Because I can imagine you've seen both now. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, so the transition has almost been in sort of two lanes, if you like, two swim
Sure.
lanes.
Yeah.
The RMS swim lane has it's a known entity to me. So coming into ideas and understanding what they do, how they do it, is second nature.
Sure.
The differences between how Idea supports hotels in the RMS space and how other companies support them has been very similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
My learning in that context has been very, very short. I've had to learn a few nuances and some specifics around the value additions, how we support the clients, how we add value specifically. But in general, I'm known in the space. I know the space, so that's been really, really easy. Um, the harder or the longer transition
Mm.
has been, as you said, working in a bigger environment.
Sure.
From a startup to a more established player who's been around for 30 years, obviously has differences.
Mm.
There's more structure, there's more routine, there's more discipline, there's more rigor. And so it's having to understand that, and even the product complexity. There's just more
Sure.
there, understanding
Yeah.
what the different products can do, how they serve the market. That requires a greater degree of learning, and obviously takes time. But that said, one of the things I didn't appreciate is that Ideas is owned by SAS, the largest privately owned
Yeah.
software company in the world.
Yeah.
But although it's 100% owned, it's run entirely independently. So
Right.
one of the really interesting things is coming into this big organization that has all of your sort of support functions there,
Hmm.
the environment that you operate in, the campus that we work at in Marlow, the support that you get is second to none. It's
Really. Right.
very different to everything I've ever experienced. I've never
Yeah.
worked in a company of 14,000 people before.
Yeah.
So at that
Fair.
level, it's just massively, massively different to anything I've experienced, but in a positive way. Having that
Mm.
support from a very financially stable company that's been around for a long time is tremendous. But the other benefit is that Ideas is run completely independently. So
Yeah.
a small company with the benefit of having this large backing big brother, so to
Yeah.
speak. So ideas, I say it's small, it's 500 plus people. So it's again very different to where I've just come from, but it
Sure.
feels like a startup in many respects.
Yeah.
We're agile, we're able to respond to client needs in much the same way that we did it when I was at a startup. So
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it, it it's an interesting situation, and I think very unique. And I think Ideas benefits massively from that.
Well, I remember when we were speaking off camera, I think it was last week or the week before. And, for complete transparency, I remember saying to you, you know, how flexible are we with this? Do we need to go through sort of a PR team and everything else? And I said, because I can imagine there's quite a lot of red tape and all this sort of stuff. And it was quite the opposite. You said, no, actually, I've got all the autonomy that I could need. And very much like the sort of smaller startup scenario with your autonomy, but obviously with all the backing support of the massive giant that Ideas is. And I thought that was pretty amazing, to be totally honest with you. And I suppose that brings me on to my next question, and it's more directed towards clients and things. But what is it that you believe sets Ideas apart from its competition? Because there's got to be a reason that it is the market leader. There's got to be a reason that they are the giant that they are today, and there's got to be a reason that they've lasted so long. So, what is it? And again, you've got the experience in the RMS world. What do you believe the difference is between its competitors?
Going back to my earlier point, I think it's the
Mm.
research and the development.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Ideas has something like 22 PhDs in data science
Right.
in the
Okay.
background, and that's in addition to all of the product development, the engineers,
Sure.
product managers, etc. So it's just a huge team that is supporting the innovation We've
Right.
actually got something called the Innovation Hub, which is a completely separate department that is looking at other opportunities beyond just pure hotel accommodation.
Right.
You know,
Right.
what else can our technologies and our intellectual property be applied to? So,
Sure.
that the Innovation Hub explores multiple different avenues of opportunity. Not all of them come to market. Not some of them are um, we decide aren't worth investing in, but some
Sure.
do, and the investment is put aside to incubate those opportunities. So yeah, and that's not our core business, but that is
Yeah.
ensuring that we are relevant, will be relevant in the future, and actually we can embrace more opportunities outside
Yeah.
of even traditional hotels. But within the hotel context, um, the investment that we put into the products is tremendous.
Yeah.
We've just recently launched a new product that serves more of the franchised community,
Right.
more sort of owner operated sort of accommodation providers that don't
Hmm.
have big teams to support the revenue management function.
Sure.
It's a product that we call Elevate internally, but we've got a number of global clients using that, and it was launched just before COVID, but that
Right.
has been responsible for a huge growth spurt within the company. I think just in the last 18 months, something like 8,000 hotels have signed up to that product.
Wow.
So yeah, by being innovative, by understanding the market, by developing solutions that meet specific needs of certain specific sectors within the market, has allowed ideas to capitalize on those opportunities and serve the broader industry far better than anyone else in the space is able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as I say, in my question, I almost said it myself, but there's got to be reasons why you guys have been around for so long and are the market leader. So, Michael, there was a poll that I saw, I think it was either yesterday or last week, and it was focused on what the industry is asking for from RMSs. And I thought it was an interesting question because clearly, in all the RMSs within the market, they need to, well, you mentioned it earlier, you need to be innovative, you need to be adaptable, you need to be driving sort of positive change, I suppose. Um, and from your new sort of business or growth perspective, what's the biggest request that you're seeing coming in? Because I know lots of hotels are looking at the different ways that they can optimize, of course, because they always are. But then we've got, your new markets like the holiday space or staycation market, because I know from talking to a number of clients in that space, they're either having to create their own systems, bespoke, or they're going to, well, using the bigger players, but they're just using certain elements of it rather than the full system. So I suppose, what have you seen in terms of the biggest requests in the market at the moment?
Yes, and it does depend on the sector. So if you look at a full
Sure.
service hotel in a city center that has been the traditional user of an RMS in the past, their requirements are going to be different. That's a fairly mature user group with very sophisticated requirements and needs,
Yeah.
and what they're looking for is different to say a resort
Yeah.
who's been that sector's been traditionally underserved by revenue management. So
Yeah.
so they just want to get to the party. They want to start using uh, full automation
Right.
in the operation of their hotels. But there is some requirements, some features and functions that they require to do that. And the same with maybe extended stay or apart hotels,
Yeah.
or the budget sector, which I mentioned. So very different needs based on the maturity and of the various sectors and
Sure.
what they're looking to achieve. But I'd say in that sort of full service traditional hotel, um, the thing that comes up most from our user groups
Yeah.
relates to total revenue management. I think it's something that we've
Right.
spoken about for a long, long time,
Yeah.
but really hasn't been well served traditionally. And Ideas has done a lot to develop that and sort of start looking at other revenue streams and start
Yeah.
looking at the uh, understanding where the most profitable business is coming from and
Yeah.
optimizing based on that. The challenge we've got is that the ecosystem doesn't fully support that in all cases. So whilst the requirement is there, and whilst we've done a lot to actually plug that gap and deliver what the hotels are looking for,
Yeah,
distributing that, those recommendations into the ecosystem is limited right now.
yeah,
And I think the rest of, many of our tech partners need to play a bit of catch up to do that.
right.
Um,
Interesting.
but a follow on from that is then sort of more profit optimization, getting us, especially with the cost of living
Yeah.
crisis and people having to do more with less. There's a big focus on profit optimization, but the same constraints exist within the ecosystem. So,
Right.
there's a general responsibility for all tech players, not just ideas, to actually step up and deliver what the market is asking for.
No, absolutely. I just thought I'd take the opportunity because it came to me that I just saw that question on LinkedIn, and I've got a new business sort of growth VP of the largest RMS in the world. So I just thought I'm going to take this opportunity. so there's the answer to that poll, if you like, everybody, if you are
Yeah.
tuned into this. Um, I suppose finally, I'd love to hear about the exciting stuff that's coming with ideas. And of course, I don't want any exclusive scoops that you're not allowed to say yet, or we have to blur you out or bleep you or whatever. But what's exciting? What's going on at Ideas at the moment that's sort of really cool and you want to shout about?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things that's come out of our innovation hubs is sort of
Mm,
the opportunity to start closing the gap between uh, the revenue side of thing and the guest behaviors.
sure.
So a closer alignment between digital marketing and revenue
Hmm.
management. And again, it's
Yeah,
quite obvious that, if the more you understand about specific guests and specific segments of guests, the better you will be at determining what they want
yeah,
and what their likelihood is to spend more on property. So you sort of move away from just the room revenue and say, yes, Thomas is prepared to pay £200 for this room, but actually I might be prepared to only pay £150 for the room. But when I'm
yeah.
on site, I spend a lot more. So understanding the reasons people are staying in hotels and the size of their wallet when they get onto property is
Mm,
going to be a significant input into how we revenue manage in the future. And this sort of plays into that whole total revenue management
yeah,
conversation that I was speaking about. It's not, if we just limit the conversation to room revenue and exclude and sort of broad course segmentation, we
hmm,
miss huge opportunities to really maximize the not only the top line but the bottom line profitability of the hotel operation. And we think that there's a great opportunity to collaborate more with sort of the digital marketing companies out there and really provide more personalized experiences for
absolutely.
guests.
I think that's been a real big push as well from a hotelier's perspective of creating that experience-led guest experience. Um, and it's one of those where they've been continuously enhancing that guest experience from the very front end to not only obviously the product itself when they're on property, but also post sale as well. So it's an interesting sort of transition, I suppose, or as we said before, an innovation in how we're dealing with guests and their experience of dealing with us. So no, again, Michael, I know how incredibly busy you are, so I just want to say a massive thank you to you. What an exciting time it's been for you. Of course, since March as well, really stepping into this, and as you say, a baptism of fire at ITV. But you're clearly enjoying it from our conversations, which is fantastic to see. I can't wait to see you for the event that's coming up. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at that. But again, thank you so much. And we can't wait to maybe hear what ideas is going on in another 12 months. So we'll have to get you back on maybe sort of middle of next year.
Absolutely. No, it's been a fantastic journey. I'm delighted with the opportunity, and
Yeah.
yeah, definitely more to come. I mean, one thing for sure is that Ideas is not resting on its laurels. It's
Oh, no.
we've got lots of exciting and new things to do, and ultimately, it's really we're here to serve our clients and provide as much value as we can. And
Absolutely.
that's our
Absolutely.
mission.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody that has tuned in. It's great because we've managed to get the majority of the RMSs, I'd like to say, that at least operate in the UK on the show. And now finally we've had ideas on, which is absolutely fantastic because the mainstay of our audience is, of course, revenue management. So we really hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you for tuning in again. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.